All right, looks like we are live. Trying a new format this time, guys. I know it's a weird day and a weird time, but I came across a little bit. First of all, I want to introduce our guest, Matt Johnston. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, a little bit of backstory. Yesterday, I was logging into my Facebook Ads Manager, and I got a little pop-up that said something to the effect of uh, Apple's making updates, and you better pay attention because it might seriously affect the deliverability of your ads. So, I immediately went to YouTube to see like what the heck is going on, because I run Facebook ads, and I'm actually planning a big Facebook ads push in the new year, as soon as all this holiday stuff is over. So I wanted to wrap my head around it, and Matt's video was one of the first videos I found on the subject that actually explained this in a really crystal clear way. So Matt, why don't we kick things off by just letting people know who you are, what you do, and how you got into, you know, what you're, because I know Facebook ads isn't your focus, correct? You're more into kind of video marketing, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
All right, cool.
I run a agency which is called Guide Social. So we do mostly e-commerce marketing. We actually do use mostly Facebook ads to make money for our clients. We have 10 Shark Tank clients, so we're really in this
Oh wow.
innovative product e-commerce space. And we do use Facebook ads. I mean, we run, millions of dollars in Facebook ads every year for our clients. Video is the main medium because that's
Hmm.
my background. I wrote a book on it. I used to be in video publishing before I started the company.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this has a huge ramifications for my clients and my business in general. So as soon as I found out about it, I went nuts, and Facebook's going nuts too. As you can see, you got
Yeah.
that pop up, but that's like just the tip of the iceberg. They've spent likely millions of dollars in advertising themselves, taking out full page newspaper ads,
I
basically
saw that.
slamming Apple for
Yeah.
for doing this in the first place. And Apple's been responding. Not it's a bit of a Silicon Valley war that's happening right now.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, anyone watching, be sure to check out Matt's YouTube channel. It's Matt Johnston TV, correct? That's the name of it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Cool. Yeah, check that out. That has a really great video where he kind of breaks it down with, he writes everything out. So it's a little easier to see visually that way. So go check that out. But Matt, why don't we start by talking about what exactly this Apple update is, who it's designed to protect, and then what the repercussions of that are for small business owners and anyone advertising on Facebook.
Sure. So iOS 14, iOS is the code name for Apple's operating system. Basically, it's what runs everything on your iPhone. So
Hmm.
they put out updates all the time, and they have new versions all the time. So they updated the latest one was called iOS 14, and that came out in I think September, but it did not include one crucial privacy feature that Apple was planning on building into it, and
Hmm.
that's going to be rolling out in January or February. All we know is Q1, and they pushed it back because they knew that this was going to happen. I think they were getting a lot of internal pressure.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, once you update your iPhone, you're in January, February. Every app that you, as I understand it, every app that you open, the first time that you open it, you're going to get a little pop up, and that pop up is going to say, "Do you want to allow this app to track your data?" And you say yes or
Hmm.
no. So, listen, I mean, I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that 80% of people are going to say no. And
Yeah.
it's obviously designed to protect everybody. It's and it's really it's difficult, and this is what a lot of Silicon Valley haters would say, is that Silicon Valley has too much power, because
Yeah.
really it's an ethical argument. What is this data? How is this data shared? What are the ramifications of this data? Where on one side of the argument you may say, well, anyway, let me step back. What this means is that when people do things on apps, not just the Facebook app, Your browser, Safari, Chrome, it's already built into Safari, not being able to track you. It won't be able to know what you're doing on these apps, which includes buying stuff or opting into an email list. It will not know when you do those things. So for Facebook ads, well, okay, and then there's that, and then there's the second layer of this, which sucks for advertisers, which is that it's going to lead to an eventual or a slow erosion of personalization on the platform. Because over time, Facebook's just going to simply know less about what people are doing online because they're not going to know the websites that they visit. They're only going to know what they do on Facebook and Instagram. And that's the only data that they'll have is that data because that's sort of first party data, right?
Sure.
So at the end of the day, you have the erosion of personalization, which is how the whole Facebook algorithm works on Facebook and Instagram, and why advertising there is more powerful than on other platforms. And on the other side, you have just the issue with tracking and Facebook being able to optimize your ads. So if you have an ad or a campaign, I don't want to get too in depth here, you run an ad, you say, hey, Facebook, go and get me leads. And based on the number of leads are coming back, are firing back, it's able to optimize those campaigns to find those people. But what happens if there are leads that are happening, but no information gets fired back to Facebook? Well, Facebook's going to think it's failing, or it will just have no idea how it's doing. So the algorithm is unable to optimize. This is why people are scared to death. And why Facebook, Facebook's spending so much money on PR for this. I mean, it's almost having a reverse effect than they want, I think. I mean, because it's making us all get scared. Like Facebook, if you're scared about this, then we should be probably scared about this.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the reason why we advertise on Facebook is because of all that personalization and all the data they have. And I don't know about you, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second here. I get really kind of annoyed when people start talking about how much privacy they're losing and if Facebook's like looking over their shoulder and stuff. To a certain degree, yes, but it's all there to personalize your experience. And at the end of the day, they don't know who's doing what. It's not like there's a person. Like, did you see that documentary? What was it? The Social Dilemma?
Social Dilemma? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where they basically personify all this stuff, and they basically they make it, the algorithm, look like it's like a few people kind of getting their hands in everything. It's not the case. It's really there to put stuff in front of people that is going to be the most engaging for them, right? I mean, would you rather see ads targeted toward you and things you enjoy, or do you want to just see ads for, anything, something that's more meant for your grandmother? And that's where it's going to head if this takes off. So it is kind of scary, and I'm a little scared of it myself. So
I think what's fascinating about this is it reminds me a lot of it's just there's like presidential elections too, or something, right? Yeah. Like there's this whole debate, right? In fact, there have been debates through all of civilization historically, where it's said, should you let everybody vote, even when not everybody knows all the information or is biased in some way? And that's why it's such an ethical problem when it comes to data. Because the thing is, without any other, and again, like I see where both Apple and Facebook are coming from. I don't know where I draw a line in the sand. I think it's bad for my business in general. So in general, I don't like it. But I think that on one level, you've got people saying, like, should I control my own data? Okay, yes. And when they're faced with that decision, this is going to be the decision when that pop-up comes up, they're going to say no because they want to keep that private because they don't know. They actually don't know what they're opting in for, and they don't know what they're opting out for. I said this on my video. Yeah. I was like, well, over time, I'm just going to start getting wedding dress ads, and nobody wins.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
but the thing is, people don't know. They don't have the information. Like when that pop-up comes, they don't know what it means for them when they say, no, I don't want this app to track my data. They don't see what potential ramifications that could have, good or bad.
Right. So now that we know kind of what this is all about, let's talk about what this is actually going to affect, right? Like what kinds of what kind of targeting is going to be unavailable or less available than it is right now once this goes through. Oh, and by the way, I should say, if you're here and you have any questions for Matt here, go ahead and pop it in the chat and we'll get to your questions at the end of this, all right? But sorry, Matt, I interrupted you.
I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on targeting right away. That's not what I'm concerned about right now. As I said, like as far as the personalization goes, I think there's going to be a slow erosion of personalization. But I am concerned about conversion data getting back. I think the biggest thing that Facebook is concerned about is, are we going to know which campaigns are working and which campaigns are not? But not just us as advertisers, is Facebook going to know? Or is it never going to be able to optimize your ads? Because Facebook's nightmare is that it just turns into something like TV advertising, where you're just slapping stuff up there en masse and hoping that it grows the business. But because, as I said before, the biggest thing that Facebook is worried about is if you're running ads, if Facebook doesn't know if something is working or not, it cannot optimize for those things, and therefore forget about getting the return that you want. It's just going to be shooting in the dark. It's going to have very little. It's going to be whatever pixel data that you have already there, which is, in your third-party cookies. That's the biggest thing. I don't think it's going to. I would be surprised if any targeting changes at all. It's not about targeting. I think over time those targeting options will get worse, like less reliable.
Right.
But for the immediate future, it's about tracking. That's the biggest thing. But not just tracking for knowledge, also tracking for algorithmic optimization. Okay. Not to use too many, not to get in the weeds about it, but it actually is potentially disastrous. I mean, it's a big deal.
Well, because I can see why. Because basically, let's take a look, or let's think of a lookalike audience, for example. That's one of my favorite audiences to use, right? People opt in for your lead magnet, or they buy something, and you make a lookalike audience based on those people. But if Facebook now is going to have less data to draw from, because that's really what's happening, right? They're going to be getting less data, correct?
Right.
Okay. So in terms of creating lookalike audiences, then, is this going to mean they're going to be a lot less powerful moving forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a shame.
But again, but again, I think that it's a slow burn on that. It's more about tracking in the beginning. I think that's the biggest issue. It's more about attribution. It's more about, because Facebook will slowly try to reach your goals for you. That's how it works in Facebook. You say, get me leads. And then you say, get me purchases. And then it will settle in to an ROI that works for you based on the way that its algorithm works. Problem is, if it's not getting the data back, it's going to settle into a much higher return. So for example, if you sell a product, it costs $50 and you usually have a $20 CPA on that product, meaning it costs you $20 to acquire that customer. That may still be the case, but then all of a sudden Facebook is pushing only a third of that data back to you, or a quarter of that data back to you. All of a sudden Facebook is like, okay, it costs $50 to acquire this customer now, and it'll settle all your campaigns into it. Can you imagine what that would mean to a business at scale when it costs them more than 2 times as much? Basically, Facebook advertising becomes not doable anymore, and you have to start looking at everything. So that's really what the concern is, because it's not going to necessarily mean all of a sudden all your interest targeting is going to be destroyed and your lookalikes are going to be destroyed. They're just going to get worse over time. Okay. But in the immediate future, it's about just getting that data back. However, I do not, and again, I'm not super techie. I am, but I'm not. Like, I don't know coding and stuff. But I'm not sure that Facebook's going to know who's buying stuff. Which probably gets into what we should talk about at some point here, which is how to protect yourself, because there are ways to do that. There are ways to send that data back.
Yeah, no, that's what I definitely want to focus on, because, hopefully anyone that's watching this, you can take these tips and run with them. So what's the first thing anyone should do to kind of safeguard themselves from this moving forward?
There's 3 big things that you need to do. Everybody loves a list. Here we go. Yep. 3 things. Number one, build your own audience. Gather as much first-party data as you can. If you can collect email addresses, text messages, all of those things, direct likes and followers on your organic social accounts, that's going to be very important because you own that data. That's first-party data. The issue that we have here is mostly with third-party data.
Sure.
Number 2, remember that we still can, because I didn't even talk about retargeting. Remember, one of the most powerful things that we can do on Facebook is retarget people that have taken valuable actions. So they come to your website and then you retarget them. The most popular audience in the world on Facebook for retargeting is the last 30 days of people that have visited my website. Guess what? That's garbage now. You can't use it. I mean, you just can't. So you have to, because Facebook doesn't know. It's happening in a black box. If it's happening on my phone, it's happening in a black box. So now you have to retarget people differently, meaning you have to retarget them based on, and you're going to have to test these things because this is all blue ocean, but you're going to have to start testing retargeting people based on actions they take in Facebook. For example, watching 75 to 95% of a video. So maybe your funnel is extended. Maybe you have a video at the top of your funnel in the awareness stage, and you're retargeting people that watched almost all that video and saying, okay, well, if they watched almost all that video, then I could say that that's a valuable action. They said they're interested. I can move them to the next stage in the funnel, because retargeting website visitors is just not going to be as reliable now because we just don't have that data.
Right.
That's huge. I mean, that is huge. That's billions of dollars in revenue on Facebook. That's just going to potentially go away. So video, huge, because that's one of the best ways you can retarget people. You can also retarget people based on general engagement with your ads. So like if they've liked any of your Facebook or Instagram posts, if they've clicked an ad, we know if they've clicked an ad. So that's good.
So that's kind of a way around it. So if they've clicked on an ad to go to your website, the only way that can really work is if they click the ad from Facebook to get there, but you can't get all of your other traffic that got there from like Google searches and stuff or direct, right? That's what you're saying?
Exactly. Okay. One of the awesome things is, and I've been doing this too lately, is pulling in nice YouTube ads traffic in the acquisition phase and then retargeting them on Facebook. I mean, that's just going to be really difficult to do now, which is why we have to start getting their email addresses and SMS somehow. But the third thing is the most important thing. It's the most actionable step. We have a whole blog on my website about how to do this, guidesocialglobal.com. And you need to install the Facebook Conversions API. It's called CAPI. And what this basically does is it creates like an underwater electrical line between your website and Facebook, so Facebook can still know when conversions are happening. Conversions are the most important metric in Facebook. When this happens and everybody's and this is a Facebook product. I mean, they rolled this out so that this could happen. So if you have Shopify, if you sell stuff on Shopify, like most of my clients, you want to install the Facebook app and then go through the process. It's too complicated to go through here. It's on the website. Yeah. You basically have to go through, link your business manager up to the Facebook, link it with your Pixel, You have to go through the process to link those things together so that Shopify sends purchase data back to Facebook and associates it with campaigns. That's a workaround.
Okay.
If you have WordPress...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that wouldn't be any kind of a workaround just to see what general traffic on your site, though, would it? That's only for tracking conversions?
Yes, because as of right now, I mean, as far as I know, as of right now, Facebook only sends a very limited amount of information back. Because one of the other things that's happening is that the Facebook pixel is going to be throttled to only 8 events, which may not sound like a lot, but it's a lot. I mean, so basically, if you were using any sort of custom events on your funnel, which a lot of people do, like more than you may think if you haven't done a lot of advertising. I mean, really, it's just the basic stuff. Like, did you get a purchase? Did you get a lead? Did you get an add to cart? Did you get an initial? Just the basic stuff is going to be able to be sent back.
Right.
Potentially page view. Oh, I don't know how that would work though. Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
know if that's going to be able to work. Potentially, I don't know. I'd have to look into that a little bit more. But
Okay.
yeah, it's going to be big. But then of course, see, but the thing is, all it does is sends an event back, so you can't retarget
Right.
it. It just sends an event back. It just says, "Hey, somebody hit a page view," but we don't know who.
Sure. But if you do a conversion, that can be retargeted, or can be at least not retar. You wouldn't retarget a conversion necessarily, but you would at least that could go into the bucket of like just data that's being collected for lookalikes, or what is the
I
use
believe
case?
so. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I need to. I'm not 100% sure how much of the person's data is going to go back to Facebook. I think less, but I'm not exactly because I mean, certainly we know what we're going to know what campaign the purchases happened on and what campaign the leads happened on.
Okay.
So one would can guess that we would also then know what audience they came in on, et cetera. So then likely Facebook would be able to have that information somewhat.
Okay.
But I don't think we're going to see a good workaround here for retargeting. I think that this is mostly for reporting. I do
Okay.
think this is mostly for reporting. If you have WordPress, there's a plugin. So there's instructions on the blog, and Facebook has them. And if you have anything else, you're probably looking at a custom coding situation.
Okay. And what does this plugin do for WordPress? Like what exactly is do we get back from that?
It just fires pixel events and sends them back to the Facebook pixel that happen on your
Okay.
site. So it basically allows you, like when people take valuable actions on your site, like opt into your email list, it
Hmm.
can fire that event back to Facebook so that we can track the performance of our campaigns. And so Facebook can optimize our campaigns.
Okay. So if I'm getting this right, if I'm understanding you right, this is basically another workaround for what is being taken away. If people opt out of this on Facebook, this is a way to kind of still get that information to pass along. Is that correct?
Yes, but
Okay.
unknown at this time what percentage of that information we're getting back. I think
Okay.
from what I understand, we're not going to have as good a data about those people that we normally do. I mean, a pixel event fire is a pixel event fire,
Hmm.
because that person is logged in on their browser or somewhere else to, like, how are you able to be tracked online? Because I'm logged into all these apps, right? And
Yeah.
then I go into an app, and then they know that I've taken that valuable action because I'm being tracked and the cookie's following me around. But if the
Hmm.
cookie can't follow me around, how is Facebook going to know who I am? And if Facebook doesn't know who I am, how is it going to use that for audiences and lookalikes and things like that? It's just going to be, in a lot of cases, I think, a purchase or a lead. We're just going to know there was a lead, and we might know what campaign it was from.
Okay.
So I think we're still figuring out how much data, and I think it matters how many people opt out and where they opt out, how they opt out. But I think that this is largely a tracking hack, which
Okay.
is concerning.
Yeah. I mean, none of this is good news, unfortunately, but at least there's things we can do to kind of bridge the gap a little bit. So, first of all, keep the questions coming, guys. We're going to get to them at the end. But I was going to ask you too. So, this is mostly all about phones, correct? So, what about what happens on someone's desktop? Is that going to be affected, or is that going to remain
No,
as is?
it remains as is. However, Safari, I believe, out of the box, comes without third-party cookies enabled. So if
Okay.
you're on your Mac, I wrote a blog about this a couple weeks ago, and when I was doing research for it, I found out that Safari has 55% of the market share on browsers.
Really?
So as people get Macs and they're using Safaris and they're using Safari, I mean, we're talking about half the audience there, right? That doesn't have
Okay.
it on there. Google Chrome, I believe, has said they're waiting until 2022 to phase out third-party cookies. But the bottom line is every single tech entity that I can think of has said they're getting rid of them. And then there's these upstarts like Brave and stuff, which are touting themselves as like the king of privacy browsers, and they want you to
Right.
come on them because you can't be tracked. I mean, it's tough because it's really a PR thing, right? I mean, it's a PR thing. I mean, you've got these
Yeah.
people, you've got these businesses out here saying, you don't want your data tracked, right? And it's like, gun to my head, I'd be like, I guess not.
Right. Again,
And so then you sign up.
knowing the flip side of it, which is what we talked about earlier. But all right, so those are the things. Is there anything else we can do to kind of safeguard against this?
I think it's just marketing 101, really. At the end of the day, it's why Seth Godin wrote the book Permission Marketing. You know, it's taking people through an actual. Your video just went black.
Yeah,
You
sorry.
there? Oh, now you're
Got
back.
it back.
It's taking people through like a marketing funnel in the classic way, from awareness to consideration to conversion, holding their hand through the journey, like building relationships with people, getting them on your email list, getting them to like and follow your pages organically, like all the basic marketing stuff. Because going straight to a cold audience, and listen, like we have our best results that way with our e-commerce stores, going straight to a cold audience who doesn't know us and saying, buy our stuff, is just not going to work as well anymore.
Right.
You need to own the data now. You need to start owning the data, and you need to start taking people through the funnel. And to be honest with you, it's well known among us Facebook ad people, the longer the funnel, the more expensive the funnel. So if all of a sudden you have to spend an extra couple of weeks warming people up before they buy from you, I mean, that could,
Yeah.
I mean, that's money. That's just money. So
For sure.
I mean, it's going to push businesses off the platform. And I think one of the reasons why Facebook is taking this, like, we stand with small businesses approach is because, I mean, I have clients who are $1 million companies, and 1.5 million of that revenue is Facebook ads. And so it's like, if that goes away, what happens to the business? Or if that gets cut in, even if it goes down by $70,000, what happens to the business? You know?
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of concern here.
Okay. Yeah, understood. So, and I don't know if it was in your video or another video I saw yesterday where they basically said most of this is going to impact the third-party ad placements. So, like, if you're advertising within Facebook newsfeed, it's not going to be as much of a concern. Is that correct? Or mostly the ad network is what they call it, right?
No, I mean, I think it has ramifications all over the place. I mean, as far as placements, I mean, yes, like advertising on the audience network, which means like Facebook has partnerships with like games and stuff on your phone, and that's just not going to be really a thing anymore because they can't track data. But I mean, it's still going to have, like, it has a huge effect on newsfeed because, you know, somebody clicks your ad, and if you're, I mean, first of all, if you're on Facebook, Facebook has a built-in browser on it, right? And that's how you buy stuff on Facebook. Typically, if you're just like a one-stop shop, you're like, see an ad, click an ad, buy a thing, be on with your day. Facebook has a built-in browser with the third-party cookie on it, right? But Facebook won't get to really, as I understand it, won't get to track that data very well, because if you open up your Facebook app after updating your iOS and you say, no, I don't want Facebook to track my data, well, then there you go. That's gone. And then there's the brand awareness side of this. There's a lot of people that see an ad on Facebook, go onto their browser, Google the brand, and then go buy something. Well, that data is just gone. I mean, that's just not happening. Like, you're just not going to get that stuff. Anytime you're using something external, like, it's extremely out of there. So this is going to impact everything. I mean, like, advertising placements. Audience network has never been a profitable place for any client I've had anyway. I don't care about that.
And that's what gave me like hope when I heard that. Yeah, I heard that yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, that's some good news because I don't use that anyway. I don't know anyone who teaches that that's a good placement to use. But no, I mean, I see what you mean, because just the targeting across the board is going to be less powerful now. So All right. Any last thoughts before we get to some questions here? Is there anything else you think is important people should know?
No, but I think the biggest thing is if you're out there and you have your own website, or if you have clients that have websites, this is something that you need to, this CAPI thing is something that you should prioritize right now. That's all. I mean, I think if there's one takeaway, you need to install CAPI.
Okay, cool. So let's get to the questions here. Let's see. I'm trying to find the first question. Yeah, Deb L says, "Wow, this changes everything." Indeed, it does.
Indeed. Yep.
And then let's see. We've got another one from Deb. She says, "Let me just add to broadcast." She says, "How will it target your ideal audience if it can target?" Sorry, how will it target your ideal audience if it can target? I think she's saying if it can target.
I think she's saying if it can't target by their behavior on the app. Yeah. How will it target your audience if it can't target? But yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it won't. It can't.
But just to be clear here, so let's say they say no, we don't want Facebook tracking our data. But within the behavior on the app, though, like if they click through to your website, they still can. They can retarget based on that click through, or they can't at this point.
I mean, as I understand it, based on the terms and conditions that none of us read when we sign up for Facebook, they own the data of the things that we do on Facebook. So they still know our behavior in there. They know what TV shows we're talking about. They know what movies we watch. They know what kind of videos we watch. They know how we watch them. They know everything we do on Facebook.
Yeah.
So there's that. And, but, you know, obviously we all know that under 25 years old, like how many of those folks use Facebook? And so, I mean, I think Facebook's worried about its own future too. Now there's Instagram too. And we also know what they do on Instagram.
Okay,
so,
good.
So there's that. So yeah, I mean, we're not dead in the water, especially when it comes to targeting. But ROI wise, when you have most businesses are working on very slim margins with Facebook, you know, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 2-to-1, a lot of them profitably. Like if you slice into that even a little bit, you start running into an unprofitable business decision. So,
yeah, it's going to change a lot of stuff. And Mohack says, "Can you please review what the update's about? I just joined." Long story short, Mohack, it's just about basically Apple is taking away a lot of the data points when the people are going to be able to funnel through Facebook. So Facebook targeting is just going to be a lot less powerful because we're going to know a lot less about people, is the long and short of that. Let's see. We got from Aziz Icario. What if I just started an account and I don't have any data?
You're in an even worse spot. You're in an even worse spot. Go spend like $1,000 right now and go get it. Get pixel data. So there's this. So the pixel is a little piece of code. You put it on your website and it sends data back to Facebook about people that are about what people do, and that's your pixel, and your pixel has a bunch of data on it about the different people that interact with your business. The businesses that are best, that are in the best position right now to weather this storm are businesses that have a lot of pixel data, meaning the people that have spent a lot of money on Facebook ads in the past, because they'll at least have that. The more data that Facebook has about the people that are likely to purchase your product or opt into your email list, the more it will be able to find people like that. However, this is not long-term because, again, over time, with the erosion of personalization, that means that it's going to not be as easy for Facebook to find people like those people because they'll be like, I don't know.
It's going to dwindle more and more. So would you say, though, for I know it's going to end up being less powerful later, but would you say if you have a good email list, now would be the time to upload that in and start a lookalike audience? Would that be helpful to do that now versus later?
I don't think it makes much of a difference, really.
All right. Let's see. So we've got...
Start gathering them. If you're
Start
not, a lot of
gathering
people
them.
are not gathering them. Yeah, like if you have traffic on your website and you don't have a lead gen strategy, get one. Like
Guys, this is why
lead
email is
magnet,
so
pop up,
important.
whatever.
Yeah, email list is critical. You need a lead magnet. You need to be getting people on your email list so that you can keep in front of them that way. If all of this, I always talk about this. You own your email list. You never own your Facebook people or your Instagram people. So that's why it's important. And then those just feed into a lookalike, which that's going to be less good going forward, but it's better than nothing. So, all right, we've got from Cassie F. She says, "Do you see them increasing organic growth in to prep for that?"
Cassie, that's such a smart question.
Yeah.
Bravo, Cassie. So I actually, on my personal Facebook today, I put that up. I asked that as a question. I was like, do you guys think that so Facebook infamously throttles organic traffic, right?
Yeah.
Like only 1 or 2% of your Facebook followers see anything that you do. So because they want you to buy ads. And so I was thinking about the same thing, Cassie. I was like, I wonder if they're going to open up Facebook organic. Back when I was like running, I used to run video at New York Magazine and Men's Health and all these places during the golden age of Facebook. And I mean, we would regularly get millions and millions and millions of views on our videos organically. I mean, we never paid a dime for anything. Those days are gone. I mean, if you have a huge following, you can get it. But it's not the golden days anymore. I mean, you just don't get seen. Yeah. The answer is I do not know. I really hope so, though. Like, wouldn't it be great if Facebook was a place again where you could actually leverage your organic audience? That would be great.
That would be great. I mean, it's still tough to get in front of cold audiences that way, but it's good to be able to talk to the people who've opted in already or liked some of your stuff already. All right.
Then you can advertise to those people, if there's enough of them,
Right. And Scott, I see your comment. Thanks for that comment. That's really nice. Let's see. From Aziz, we've got another one from Azizi Cario. Can you please explain the ads spend limits based on last year's monthly spends? I'm not so sure about it. Can you explain the ads spent limits based on last year's monthly spend? I'm not sure we're understanding your question, Zizi Cario. If you can clarify that, possibly. Let's see. This is an interesting question from Deb L. Do you think Apple could change its mind or do something about it because it'll affect small businesses? What do you think the chances?
I mean, that's
Apple...
what Facebook is hoping.
Yeah, they're taking out the ads.
I think. Yeah, I think it's 2%. But I mean, obviously, Facebook's trying to do that. I mean, there's no reason for them to take out the ads, unless they're just. I mean, maybe so we can have conversations like this. But like, do they want us to have conversations like this to put the pressure on Apple, or do they want us to have conversations like this so that advertisers are more prepared? I think the chance is like basically zero. I mean, Apple has come back and replied to every major PR push in the last 2 weeks, saying something that is very tough for especially people that aren't really tech savvy to disagree with, which is we just believe that everybody should have the choice to give their data or not give their data. And that's why we did this. It's very hard to refute that.
Yeah, in the face of it, it sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds like a good versus evil kind of thing, but it's just, we've already talked about the good and bad. But I did see a video yesterday where they basically pointed out that this is really going to affect app developers a lot, because the in-game purchases, like, they're not going to be allowed to get money from ads anymore because everyone's going to pull out. So they're going to have to get ads or money now from in-app purchases, which is, who'da thunk it, the way Apple makes money on apps. So it's all kind of a little follow the money kind of thing, right? To know why decisions are being made. I just thought that was interesting. Okay, cool. So let's go with Troy Casanova. Hey, Troy. He says, do you foresee Android phones following iOS privacy? Do we think that's gonna follow?
Yes. Like I said, all of the major companies like Google, for example, who
Hmm.
is Android, have said that they're phasing it out. I mean, there's a longer time frame, but they've said the same thing. I think Google said 2022 they're going to phase it out. But yeah.
Okay. And another
Oh, I
one.
just realized I can expand this and I can see all the comments. Oh, wonderful. Look at
Oh,
all
you're
these
just now seeing.
comments.
Okay, cool. You're just now seeing it.
Oh, you guys are wonderful. Thank you for all
Yeah.
this engagement. You're fantastic.
Yeah, we've got a great audience here for sure.
Oh, this is a great question here. I'll call it out. Does,
Yeah,
does
go
does
for it.
this affect other apps like YouTube ads and Pinterest ads? Yes, they all run on third-party cookies. And third-party cookies are what is going to be blocked. So the answer is yes. This is all ads.
Yeah, but again, mostly on phones, not so much on desktop. So I think it depends a lot on your audience. Like I think if you have an older audience, you probably have more desktop engagement. If you're a younger audience, it's probably like more than half on their phone. So I feel like not all is lost here, but it's getting worse. So this one's interesting from Devel. Do you think it's still worth learning Facebook ads? Does that affect Google ad? Well, it's two different questions. I personally think it's still worth learning Facebook ads. It's I think they're going to be less of an opportunity, but I still think they're ads at the end of the day. It's a way of getting in front of people. It's probably still going to be better targeting options than most other platforms. Would you agree with that, Matt? Or do you think
Yeah,
something else is going to take over?
yeah, and again, I mean, it's less about the targeting options and really like what makes Facebook so powerful is the AI. I think I read somewhere, I don't remember when, that half of the top AI experts in the world work at Apple or Google, or sorry, Facebook or Google.
Right.
So, I mean, it's about the algorithm and its ability to optimize for ROI and show your ads to the perfect people at the perfect time. So that's just going to slowly erode. I think so. To answer your question, yeah, it's still worth learning. It's still going to be the most powerful because everybody's going to get hit by this. Google
Yeah.
ads too. But what I will say is you need to think more maybe than you have in the past about your specific business goals and then where you want to invest in. So if, for example, you have an online course or something, you need to think a little bit more about, okay, so what's the best way that I can build my list? If you decide the best way for you to build your business is by building your list, there are going to be a lot better ways to do that than Facebook ads probably going forward, like writing SEO blogs that can print money for you over time
Yeah.
and get people in or whatever it may be. So it really comes down to your specific business.
Sure. Now, Matt, I know you mentioned you had an out at 2 o'clock your time, or it's about there now. Can you stick around, or do you have to go?
Yeah, I have a couple more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay,
There's a
cool.
lot of great questions in here. So
Yeah, and Rise Superfoods, I see your question. Are lookalike audiences going to be worse over time? We covered that. The answer is going to be yes, unfortunately. We don't know how much worse, but worse. And then, you answered Deb's question about other apps like YouTube, Pinterest. Cassie, have to run, but thank you. You're very welcome. Oh, so Rise Superfoods, we've got, what are our options now for retargeting other than capturing email and SMS on site? Yeah, I mean, Matt, you talked about that earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I mean, you can still retarget people based on what they do inside of the Facebook and Instagram app. So video is in some ways the most powerful because you can retarget them based on what percentage of the video that they watched. And usually when people consume videos, there's some sort of affinity that happens there. Mm-hmm. You can also target them by if they've liked and comment on stuff on your Facebook page or liked and comment on anything on your Instagrams, like if they've if they've engaged through a messenger bot or the messenger app.
Yeah.
Anything that they do on the platform, you can still retarget. So
Right.
The game's not over. You just can't retarget. You're not going to be able to effectively retarget website visitors very well anymore. And that's just been the most popular way to retarget people.
Yeah, but if most of your traffic is coming from a Facebook ad, right? you could retarget those people who clicked through and still not lose too much of that retargeting power. Because if that's where you're getting all your cold traffic from and people aren't really searching you out on Google, like that's my case. Well, actually, there's a lot of people that just go to my website from YouTube, but I'm going to be pushing out a new campaign to get more cold audiences who maybe don't find me on YouTube. So those people, if they click the ad, I can retarget them with the next ad. So yeah, there's still ways to do it. It's just going to be a little less. That's all.
Yeah, I will say you cannot retarget people based on a specific ad that you've clicked, but the option that you do have is to retarget anyone who has clicked any call to action button on a post on any post over a certain period of time. So if you were just running one ad and not doing a lot of organic stuff over the past 14 days, you could retarget everyone that's clicked a CTA over the last 2 weeks. Okay. But then time will tell how good that works. I mean, you have to test everything on Facebook. And it's kind of chicken or egg, because we can say, yeah, well, if you're keeping everything inside Facebook, then it's super easy to retarget people. And I would say, yeah, but if there's one thing that this change is going to bang into people's heads, it's that you must diversify or die. Because when you put all of your eggs into one platform's basket, then all of a sudden, when one of them goes away, what happens to your business? Yeah. Do you have to go get a babysitting job or start waiting tables again? I mean, you have to diversify your business.
Yeah, this is why email all day long. All right, the Ape Show says, and I don't know about this one, and I don't know the answer to this. What do you guys think of CNAME masking to disguise third-party cookies as first-party? Probably not a great idea. I don't even know what this means, but it's probably not a good idea, right? Sounds black hat.
I mean, I know what. Yeah. It sounds a little black hat to me. I wouldn't. I don't think anybody would ever be able to do it at scale anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Deb here. So this isn't really a question, but what would you say to someone who says this? Like, I was trying to be an ad manager. I feel really discouraged now. Like, is all hope lost, or is this something it's just kind of a new thing to learn, right? Like, it's going to be a new method, I think, going forward.
Yeah,
right?
Deb, don't be discouraged, because remember, like, if you're trying to be an ad manager, that means that you're working with other businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Those businesses have the same problems to solve, the same pain points, the same goals, and you're still going to partner with them to achieve those things. I think that the first thing that I am telling all my clients is we're going to look at all the data and look mostly at how much money were you making not working with us versus how much money are you making in your business working with us? Like, as someone in your position who runs ads for a bunch of clients, it's just going to be different, and it will make it harder in some ways. But there's going to be things that crop up, and different tactics, because marketing is still marketing. I mean, like, was advertising not happening back in the Madison Avenue days just because we didn't have that data? Of course it was happening.
Yeah.
In fact, I've always said, if I'm sure most of you have watched Mad Men, I always say that, have you watched Mad Men?
It's my favorite. It's probably my favorite show of the last 20 years. Yeah.
There you go. I love to say that advertising is actually way more Don Draper than people think. Like, it's way more about the, those lofty speeches that he would give, where he would really drill into the pain points and create the perfect. Yeah. That stuff is like more important than ever. So Don't be discouraged. You just need to be smarter. You need to be doing things like you're doing now, interacting with a live show all about this stuff, so you can be ahead of the game. Because trust me, 80% of marketers are like ignoring it right now, or putting a blanket over their head.
Well, yeah, because this seems like the kind of thing that we've been hearing little bits and pieces. Like, you hear things like this and it never really seems to amount to much. But this one, I think, does amount to more than usual. So good to get in on it early,
I agree with that.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we have maybe time for one more question, and that one is from Rise Superfoods. And it says, so if someone opts out of tracking, we won't be tracking their conversions in our ads manager, right?
So the answer to that at a base level is yes, but if you install CAPI on your Shopify, WordPress, or whatever you have, it will beam that information back. However, we just won't have a ton of data on that, who that person is. But you should be able to attribute conversions to campaigns with this workaround.
Okay, perfect. So anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. So Matt, where can people go to find out more about you, and what's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, check me out on YouTube. I still have one of these
Yes.
like long strings on the back of my YouTube channel, so I'm not going to give you a URL. Maybe you can
Yeah.
link to it or something. But you can
Yeah.
search for Matt Johnston there. It's Matt Johnston TV. You can my agency is guidesocialglobal.com. My website is mattjohnstononline.com, and I also host the video marketing podcast. So I'd love to welcome some of you into my community as well. But thanks so much for having me, man. It was fun to talk about this. As soon as I heard about it, I thought exactly about what you thought. Like, I've been doing this for a few years. Like, I've seen these little news things bump every so often, but I know this is going to be big. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately.
yeah.
So but anyway, yeah, Matt, this is great. I normally wouldn't have done, like, I literally watched your video yesterday and we're doing this today. Normally I'd give you more leadway, but it's the holidays coming up. I'm out of town tomorrow. So I just thought we needed to bring this to my audience. The sooner the better. It's not a holly jolly message, but hope you guys are not too discouraged. Again, Facebook ads are probably still going to be the best way of advertising going forward. I don't think that's changing. It's a little less good, but it's still probably the best way to go even now. So anyway, Matt, so happy to have you here. And yeah, let's touch base in the new year and see how this all shakes out.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye for now, guys. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Take care.